Warhammer 40,000, also known as Warhammer 40k, is a tabletop miniature wargame produced by Games Workshop set in a dystopian science fantasy universe. Warhammer 40k was created by Rick Presley and Andy Chambers in 1987. In Warhammer 40k, players can assemble and paint individual 28mm scale miniature figures that represent futuristic soldiers, creatures, and vehicles of war. These figurines are collected to compose squads and armies that can be pitted against those of other players. Warhammer 40k's space fantasy setting spans a vast fictional universe set 38 millennia into the future. Its various factions and races include the Imperium of Man, the Orcs, and the Eldar, amongst others. The background and playing rules of each faction are covered in the game's rulebooks and supplemental army codexes, along with articles in the Games Workshop magazine, White Dwarf, and Imperial Armor. The game's miniatures are produced at Citadel Miniatures and Forge World. Here's Mike McDougall, an art student who plays and models Warhammer models. He is known by his peers as an excellent painter and modeler.
So Mike, how long have you been playing or modeling in Warhammer?
I've probably been playing for, let's see, I think since 2008. So it's been about 2.5, 3 years.
Mike decided for this film he wanted to showcase the many steps it takes to complete a model using a model from the Demon Army.
So when I first look at a sprue, I try to sort of envision first off what is sort of the basic pose that I'm going to try to find, and try to look at all the individual pieces on the sprue to try to imagine sort of dynamic poses for the creature or whatever I may be assembling at the time.
What type of different painting techniques or modeling techniques that you learned at school apply directly to the modeling and painting of the models?
Well, doing 3D, doing something that's an actual like figure, like a 3D form and shape, it's interesting because a lot of the work that you would do, something where a majority of my background comes from, like actually painting like two-dimensional just canvas or drawing, you know. But when you're doing a 3D figure, a lot of the detail is already there as far as shading goes.
What do you think is probably one of the biggest mistakes that people who paint and model Warhammer make?
One of the biggest mistakes that I see a lot of people make is that they don't water down their paints. This paint specifically for these models, they're high pigment paint, so you don't need a lot of it to get really good color. So yeah, one of the big things that I see is that people don't know that you have to water down the paint, and it just adds, you lose a lot of the detail to the model if you don't water down your paint. All the pigment will sink into the cracks where, you know, you would get a lot of definition and depth within the model.
What actually draws you to the hobby? Is it the painting and modeling aspect, or what really makes you enjoy painting and modeling?
I guess it's just something that I've always done since I was little. I was really into just doing a lot of drawing and painting in my own room, and when I was little, my dad got me into model cars, and so it was sort of like a natural progression, I guess, from there. And it was something that I hadn't done in a long time, and I just thought that it would be fun and interesting to get back into it. The hobby is really, it's something peaceful for me to do. I think it gets my mind off of other things that might be stressing me out, and that's the way it is with all like creative things that I get to do. It's something. It is just a release, just like it's a sort of an escape, but also, you know, once you're done with it, it's something that you actually get to show off to people.